In this video we are going to see how we can use code blocks in workflows. Code blocks are advanced tasks which are used when you want to build a custom logic using the JavaScript code. For this tutorial I have a multi-select drop-down called users and is configured to show a list of names from a sheet names expenses using the lookup function. And I have a date control and a submit button too over here. Now I want to do two things. First I want to check if there is a name selected by the user, and next I want to check if the date selected is a weekend or not. So first I will add a workflow on this screen. Now we need to add a code block task to this workflow. For the first use case we will call it isArray. Here we can add a list of parameters that can act as variables. We can give names to these variables as well as assign values to these parameters. You can also give it a test value to test it using the run option. Let's add a parameter that we will need for our use case. Once I add this variable, you can see that this variable got added to this function. Now I will add JavaScript code over here. In this code block I will get a lookup value in this parameter and then create a JSON parser, and then I will use an _JS to determine if it is an empty array or not an array. And based on this I will simply return a true or false. Here you can see all the supported libraries that can be used in this task. I will now use the users drop-down as an input for the value field. And for testing this code let me add an array over here. Now when I run this I get the value as true. And if I change this test value to something other than an array, we can see that the function returns a false value. The output of this function can be accessed using the task name that is isArray.output. This is now configured, so now we will add another code block to see if the date is a weekend or not. We will call it isWeekend. Here we will define a parameter with name as date, and we will assign it to the date control in our application. Here we will use moment.js in order to determine if the date is a weekend. Since our date control will give the value in milliseconds, we will have to divide it by 1000 to get a date in seconds. Let us give the test value as the current time. I will copy and paste it here. As you can see this test value is in seconds. We will have to add 2 zeros to match it with the date control's millisecond format. Once I run this, since today is Friday, it will return false. Now I will give it the date of a weekend. Here I will copy the date of Saturday and paste it. Now this should give true as the response. Next we will make this function asynchronous. What this means is that if you have a long-running task or logic in your code, you can optimize your workflow using this asynchronous option, and instead of returning true we will use resolve or reject to return the value. The success value can be returned using resolve, and since we have only a success value we can return true or false. You can try running this again and you will see the same value that is true. And just like the previous code block, this can be accessed using isWeekend.output. Now let's add an update sheet task to see these values in our sheet. I will give this a name, and I have a sheet here which has 2 columns. I will select this sheet. Next I will select the insert record option. For isArray column I will select the task isArray.output, and for isWeekend column I will select isWeekend.output. So our workflow is configured. Now we need to link the submit button to the workflow we just created. Now we can preview this application. Here we need to enable the submit data option. In the first use case, let's keep this drop down empty and the date we will use today's date, which is a Friday. Let's submit this. So in both the cases the result should be false. Here in the sheet both the toggles are off, that depicts that the output is false. Now let us select some users and I will select the date as a Sunday. Again let's submit this. Here we can see the result as true. This is how you can use code blocks in your applications. Thank you for watching. For more videos visit our YouTube page.